So the Nintendo DSi was the handheld that brought me back into the Nintendo game. In 2015, my wife bought me this sick red Nintendo DSi with a bunch of games, and immediately I was hooked. That led me down a rabbit hole finding my childhood favorites like Pokemon, and ultimately buying a 3DS XL, 2DS XL, and many more DSi's in different colors and sizes. So you can imagine that in 2025, when the official dual screen war started between AYANEO and AYN, I was hyped. We finally got to play our dual screen games on modern hardware with no compromises. So, as a normal guy, I needed to make a decision. Was I gonna go with the AYN Thor or the AYANEO Pocket DS? And for me, the decision really boiled down to one big thing: the screens, which we'll get to in a little bit. So, that closed the deal for me. I finally got my AYANEO Pocket DS in the mail the other day after 2.5 months of impatiently waiting, constantly refreshing the Indiegogo campaign website just for it to get here 2.5 months later. So now that we have it in hand, what do we think? Was this an absolute masterpiece from AYANEO, or is this a problematic, overpriced piece of plastic and metal? So let's just get into it. Now I won't bore you guys with all the specs about the AYANEO Pocket DS. If you guys are interested in that information, go ahead and check out their website. It has all that stuff listed there. And if you're watching this, you probably already know about it. But in my case, I have obviously the black configuration with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. The reason why I went with that model is because I wanted to be able to play my Steam library games on here using GameHub Lite, which on my Odin 2 portal plays just fine. So I wanted to have this as my end game device, something that I can play my 16:9 games, my retro games, and then finally be able to play my dual screen games without any compromises. Right off the bat, the device feels extremely premium. You've got a metal lid and soft touch plastics. So this thing does not feel cheap by any means. If you grab this device, you're just like, this feels about like a $500 device, because that's what this costs. Now, compared to what a 3DS XL, or particularly the new 3DS XLs cost, $350 is just about where they are if you go on eBay. So I figured that $500 for 1080p AMOLED displays with modern controls was justifiable. Now, getting straight into the software of the device, the AYANEO Pocket DS is an Android handheld running Android 13, but when you boot it up, it sends you straight into Aya Home. It's basically AYANEO's proprietary launcher. It looks kind of similar to Android with the fact that it has like a kind of a dock that you can scroll through, and then if you swipe up, you have your app drawer. So nothing terrible there. Now, if Aya Home isn't your vibe, you can go into your settings and change the home app to whatever application you want, or just to default it back to Android. So you have some options there. Now, when it comes to having two screens on an Android device, initially when these handhelds were announced, people were curious about how Android was going to handle this. So I'm happy to say that as far as the AYANEO Pocket is concerned, it kind of treats the two screens as two independent zones. So if you click on an app on the top screen, the app is going to open on that top screen. Now, if you click on an app like Citra, where it plays dual screen games, there is a little bit of a setup that you have to run by. It can be a little cumbersome, but I highly recommend checking out Russ from Retro Game Core's YouTube channel, who has an excellent guide on how to get these things set up for dual screen handhelds. But once you have it set up, it's pretty simple. You can open the emulator on either screen. The emulator itself will open on the screen that you selected on, but then when you open the application and then select the game, it will orient properly after you get it all set up. Or if you click on a single screen app, maybe like Emulation Station on the top screen, it opens there. And if you click on it on the bottom screen, it opens there as well. Now, just to be clear, the bottom screen does have its own independent app drawer. You can click on applications and then you have your entire list of applications there. Whatever you click on the bottom screen is just going to open on that bottom screen. So this makes multitasking a breeze. You can open your 16:9 content at the top, say you want to watch a YouTube video, open up that bad boy on the top screen, and then go into the bottom screen, hit emulation station if you want to play some retro games, open up your favorite game, and you're off to the races. Play your games and watch your content. So I think it's safe to say that the software experience isn't terrible by any means. Now, I have experienced some hiccups here and there whenever I'm playing something like Citra. I close the AYANEO Pocket DS without closing the app, open it, and then in some cases I do end up getting some issues where the top screen just freezes. So your mileage may vary with that, but if you've had issues like that with your AYANEO Pocket DS, let me know down in the comments below. And how frequently are you having these issues? Now let's just jump straight into gameplay on this thing. Why get something that costs 500 bucks to play retro games? Well, as you can see by this side by side, I have the AYANEO Pocket DS sandwiched between the 2DS XL and the 3DS XL. I'm playing Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, and as you can see, there is no competition when it comes to how these games look between these handhelds. I mean, yes, you can play these games just fine. I've got hundreds of hours of gameplay out of the DS handhelds from Nintendo, but there's no way you can tell me that looking at this comparison that the Pocket DS just looks amazing. The colors are way more saturated, things look sharper. It just makes for a much better visual experience. Now, thanks to the G3X Gen 2, you have tons of power to run almost any game you want on this device. You start running into issues when you get into GameHub and you start downloading other games, but when it comes to your retro library, you should have no problem playing all the way up to PS2 on this handheld. And that's why 3DS and DS games just look so amazing on here. There's plenty of room for upscaling. Things look super saturated, super crisp. The colors just pop out. The blacks are just inky and dark. It is an amazing handheld to play on. But this is kind of where things start to fall apart, because it isn't just about how they look on these screens, which we will get into the first problem with the AYANEO Pocket DS. And that there is this bottom screen. So during the Indiegogo campaign, I logged in during my usual routine checks just to see if there were any updates. And when I went into the comment section, there were tons of people canceling their orders. I mean, tons of them. It actually got me kind of worried. So when I looked into it, it turns out that the bottom screen suffered from some pretty bad screen bleed. So a few days later, AYANEO drops an update letting people know about the issue. To their credit, they were being transparent about the situation, and they even offered refunds to those who commented that they wanted refunds. So for what it seems like, getting into this handheld before it actually shipped, I already knew what to expect out of the bottom screen. Now, I thought that it wasn't going to be that bad, so I decided to stick with my order because I still wanted those big screens, and in my brain, I'm still thinking 16:9 at top, 4:3 at the bottom. You can't beat that, so let's just go with it. So I finally got it in hand, and the screen bleed, while not terrible when you have colors on the display, but the second the screen turns dark, like when I'm playing Fire Emblem's Awakening, this issue just sticks out like a sore thumb. I was unable to capture this with my better cameras, so I used my iPhone, and you can clearly see the issue there. And what makes it worse is that on the bottom screen, you have these buttons with different options and the volumes down here. So when you press the volume buttons on this device, it actually makes the screen bleed a little worse. I mean, it doesn't make it permanently worse. You can just see the pressure being applied on the display. So that's what leads me to believe that this isn't necessarily a panel issue, more of a construction issue where undue pressure or unnecessary pressure is being applied on the display. Now, I think that this is the exact same display that's in the Anbernic RG467H, which I also have, and that screen does not suffer from any light bleed at all. It looks great, and as you can see, they're roughly the same size. I mean, I think they're the exact same size, and they're both 4:3. And if you didn't already know this, most of these manufacturers aren't developing their own screens. They're essentially recycling screen tech that's already available, purchasing them in bulk, and then slapping them together in these devices. So it wouldn't surprise me if the same screen that's in the RG467H Amber needs to do something about that. And the AYANEO Pocket DS bottom screen are the exact same. It's just the construction on the AYANEO Pocket DS is just a little wonky. So for a $500 handheld, you kind of have to start questioning whether or not there should be any compromises to that extent. I mean, for a $500 handheld, you need to ask yourself if there even should be any compromises, such as the screen, which is probably one of the biggest reasons that you get a modern handheld. But wait, there's more. Now, I saved the build quality part for the ending because this thing is complicated. When you grab this device, it feels premium. You grab it and it just feels like a premium device. It's hefty, the soft touch plastics like I mentioned before, the metal lid, the top screen looks amazing, but the controls, the second thing that you get a handheld for to play games on, is kind of weird. Now, because AYANEO put this huge screen at the bottom, you can tell that there's virtually no room for the buttons. So as you can see, we have stacked buttons on both sides. Now this makes for a very awkward positioning. Now, if you're playing a single analog stick game like a Pokemon, for instance, you're only gonna use one analog stick, boom. And then you're only gonna use the ABXY buttons, boom. So playing with your thumbs in this position isn't really a big deal, but it's when you wanna play anything that has a D-pad that things start to get a little more uncomfortable. And then on top of that, these ergonomic humps, they're back there. It's got butt cheeks, but as you can see, I'm not grabbing on to those humps for anything. More often than not, I'm playing like this, which is usually how I play all of my DS games. I mean, even my 2DS XL here, boom, fingers stretched across the back, no big deal. So kind of makes me curious as to why they even added those humps to begin with. Because you can see the AYAN Thor doesn't have them, and people typically play with their fingers stretched across the back, or they may just curl them up. I don't know. You let me know down in the comments, what type of gamer are you? So there's that. But my second problem here is that you'll see one of these analog sticks does not look like the other. And that's because the analog sticks that come with this device are TMR. So it's not the actual TMR technology. So let me be more specific. The caps. These caps suck. Let me show you why. These caps are incredibly tiny. Not just that, but they're also incredibly smooth with no edging around the entire thumbstick. So you basically are left with a very smooth, very small thumbstick cap that doesn't feel very good. Fortunately, I have a Odin 2 Portal that came with the same style of thumbstick caps that came on the RP5 and the RP Mini. And AYAN does provide an upgrade package where you can get full-size sticks with texturing. So I bought those. I put those on my Odin 2 Portal. And then the old sticks from my Odin 2 Portal, I just slapped one of them on here. And as you can see, the lid still closes just fine. The thumbstick does poke out just a little bit from the recessed hole, and it barely touches the screen. So like you can see it's almost there, but it doesn't leave any marks on it. So it works out just fine. But that's not my only problem with it. It's how recessed these thumb holes are. Whenever I play this, I feel like I'm digging my finger into a hole and then just moving a little stick around inside of that hole. It doesn't really make for a crazy comfortable experience in my opinion. And I get it that this is a clamshell device. This isn't using the traditional disc style analog stick that comes on the 3DS and 2DS. So that's where the 3DS and 2DS kind of had the design advantage, where they made that thumbstick just like a gliding little puck. So they didn't have this issue where they had to recess the thumbstick. But here, since we're using TMR thumbstick, something you would probably want to find on a traditional controller, things are just a little bit more difficult to manage, and I'm finding pretty hard to get adjusted to, but it's not terrible. One thing I do wish that AYANEO provided, or at least sold with this handheld, is a grip. I mean, AYAN does provide a grip for all their devices, and I think that's a great idea. It's like 13, 15 bucks for one of them. I would certainly appreciate that because I think having a grip on here would alleviate the cramped button feeling. You could probably, you know, get a little bit more width out here. It makes it more of a bulky device. So maybe that's why they don't want to offer it, but I checked their website and they don't offer grips for any of their handhelds, which is unfortunate. So kind of a downside there, but really it's playable. And do the games look great? Yes. So where do I stand with the AYANEO Pocket DS as a DS fan? I'm torn. I'm conflicted. A part of me is having buyer's remorse because I did purchase this with my own money. As you can see, this YouTube channel is not big at all. This is the first video on here. So I bought this with my own dollars and I'm a little conflicted about this purchase. For this being a $500 device, I don't want there to be many compromises to my gameplay on a device like this, especially considering when there are much cheaper options on the market. I mean, you can get the base AYN Thor for like less than 300 bucks, and then the next tier up is a little over 300 bucks. That is way less than the base model of this. So I guess for me, the expectation was to get the ultimate end game handheld, something I can play all of my games on without any compromise on huge displays. And to be fair, I know I'm kind of emphasizing the fact that there is screen bleed and the fact that I don't like the controls, but if I'm being completely fair, the screen bleed when you're actually playing a game that actually has colors on it, you can't really notice it too much. So is this that big of a deal? I'm not too sure. But again, this comes back to what you're willing to deal with at this price point, and are you excited for the features that this device brings? So let me know down in the comments below, did you pick up an AYANEO Pocket DS? So far, what has been your experience? I really want to know, because in fairness, I'm just not having a great time with it. And to be honest, I did go ahead and order the AYN Thor after getting this one. So let me know down in the comments below, and thank you guys so much for checking out the first video on this YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel as we have more videos coming.